like pardoning
Nobody knows
insurrectionists.
everything.
I'm not asking you to know what
Nobody
color
knows
his
everything
toenails
about
are. I'm
everything.
asking you to
Nope.
know that he was rallying on pardoning insurrectionists, and now he's talking about giving them restitutions, and your vote went to it. I'm sorry. As an
Okay, so
American,
look,
you do
I'm gonna
have
correct
some
you.
sort of
I'm gonna correct you.
obligation
I'm
to
gonna
know
correct
who you
So
just
now that I
casted a
know-
ballot for. She
Participated
wanted to bail out
in rioting
rioters.
in,
Oh, she wanted to
2020.
bail out rioters. Did she want to give them
Yep.
pardons and
So
pay
she
them?
condones violence.
Did she want to give them pardons
That's
and pay
still
them?
condoning violence.
Did she want to
If you
give
wanna
them
bail
pardons
them
and pay
out,
them?
I had a question for you.
Yeah, what's up?
Hypothetically, if you had to choose, would you rather goon to Trump no lotion or Biden with only 3 fingers?
Trump with no lotion or Biden with only 3 fingers?
Yeah,
Probably Trump no lotion.
exactly. That's why I voted for him.
Based? Okay. Good combo. How's it going?
That was hilarious. Oh my god.
So how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. It's been kind of sad days, but that's okay.
What are you sad about?
That we're watching the slow decay of this great, great country.
Mm, mm, mm. Well, yeah, it's really a perspective, right? Do you focus more so on outside circumstances or your own immediate life?
It depends on what you're talking about. Like when I look at politics, I look at the good of the nation, the good of our laws, the
No,
good of the people,
I'm
the
not talking
good
about
of the
politics.
citizens.
I'm
Or
not
you,
talking about politics. I'm talking
okay.
about external circumstances in comparison to your own life and what you have control over.
I think that it's fine to say that I'm in control of my life, but these outside circumstances are affecting a lot of people, and that makes me sad.
Got it. Yeah, that's understandable.
Mhm.
So talk to me a little bit about why you hate, why Trump is evil.
I think that he tried to rob half of the country of their votes on January 6th. I think that he illegally deported somebody and then admitted that he illegally deported somebody, but now is kind of throwing his hands up and saying that we can't do anything about it. There's a lot of stuff.
Sure. So if you had to compare his evilness to like maybe Satan or Lucifer, would you say he's like the same?
No.
Just to understand. So I'm trying to understand like where the measurement.
Well, I mean, I don't believe in Satan, but if we were to, like, I assume that Satan is, like, the absolute embodiment of evil, and I don't think that Donald Trump is the absolute embodiment of evil.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand your measurement of what consists of somebody being evil, or maybe just things that you don't like. I mean, I think we all do evil things or bad things. I think that's human nature to some degree.
Do you think that it would be... Do you think it would speak to somebody's evilness to illegally deport somebody who he has withholding of removal from this particular country because he faces threat of retribution, and then we deport him to that country anyway, and then when the person sues because they were illegally deported, you guys say, oh, well, we can't do anything, you're already there?
That's a long ass question.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a story and a question. Can you just make this question short? What I think is evil.
Context is important to the thing. And I'm not going to ask you, is it evil to deport somebody? I'm asking you if it's evil to deport somebody under those circumstances.
Yeah, but you said it fast and it was pretty long-winded. You kind of lost me there, to be honest.
If someone has a withholding of removal from a particular country, do you think that it's immoral to deport them to that country? Slow down, buddy.
Slow down.
I'm speaking super. I'm not speaking that fast.
Yeah, you sound high energy, like you're nervous or something. Say the question again. Slow down a little bit. I'm trying to follow.
Do you think that if somebody has a withholding of removal from a particular country, that they should be deported to that country?
So I'm trying to understand what you mean by withholding of a removal. So when I look it up, withholding removal is an immigration benefit that prevents the individual from being deported to their country due to a credible fear of prosecution, torture, or other serious harm. It essentially suspends a deportation order, allowing the person to remain in the United States and work legally. So your question is, what I think it's evil to... Yeah, still not following what the question is.
Are you not following the question, or do you just not like the answer that you're going to give?
Well, because no, I'm just not following the question because I'm just really understanding what withholding of removal means in the context of immigration.
So if you're an illegal immigrant, you can file for withholding of removal, and then that says that we can't deport you back to that country because you have a reasonable fear of retribution.
Okay, got it. Let's stop you there. And you're saying he's doing that despite of the withholding of removal.
Yes.
Correct? Long story short. Oh, I wouldn't say it's necessarily evil, and I would have to understand better the context of why he's doing it. I don't understand all the variables within the situation. So, I mean, kind of the way the question's formulated, evil? No. Maybe not the correct way about going things? Possibly. But again, I don't really know the story in its context.
Do you think it's bad for the president to violate the law?
And I find most of the time when I hear things coming out of liberals' mouth, there's a lot of missing context.
Okay, yeah, keep poisoning the well, buddy. Do you think it's bad for the president to violate the law?
I'm just giving you my real answer. What are these, trick questions? What do you think I'm gonna say? No?
It's sad that it's a trick question. Do you think it's bad for the president to violate the law? That should be a very easy yes or no.
Yeah, of course. I don't think anybody thinks otherwise. I don't know where you're getting this impression that we think otherwise.
Because Donald Trump violated the law and then said that there's nothing we could do. He's already in El Salvador.
Okay, but where do you get the impression that people don't think it's wrong? Maybe that's what
that
I'd like
he's
to
defending it
better.
right now.
No. Where do you get that people, like such as myself, but by the way you formulated the question, right? It would automatically assume that you think that the people that support Trump are incapable of understanding morals, what's right and wrong. If they break the law, like you asking a simple basic question, like if someone breaks the law, do you think that's bad? It's a dumb question. I think everybody would think it's bad unless you're like a 1% pool of psychopaths.
Okay, you voted for him, right?
That doesn't mean that you support everyone someone does.
You voted for him, right?
It's not black and white. You can vote for somebody not be in support of everything they do or in line of everything they do.
But you have to have some.
Right?
You have to have some sort of condom.
You can do the two at the same time. You're aware of that, right?
Yeah,
not
for sure.
Everything in life is black and white.
Okay, now can you tell me
There's gray.
what did Kamala Harris do that was on level of like a January 6th?
What did she do that was on a level of January 6th?
Yeah.
Well, she didn't do anything.
Okay.
But I would argue too that Trump didn't do January 6th. He wasn't even there. So you can argue he incited it.
He wasn't even there. He was literally at the White House ellipse.
That's a different argument.
He was asking to go down with the rioters.
Okay,
so when I say January 6th,
but he wasn't there. Just like Kamala.
So do you acknowledge that Donald Trump? Do you acknowledge that Donald Trump? Do you acknowledge that?
Slow down. This is not being productive.
Yeah, you're right. It's not being productive because you're kind of tiptoeing around all of these questions.
No. Why are we rushing?
What do you mean? What impression?
I'm just giving context to the questions because you're trying to make them all black and white. Like yes or no. It's like let's have a conversation around it.
Okay, what am I misframing?
So what you're misframing is like what has Harris done that was similar to January 6th? Well, the way you're formulating the question would presume to say that he was there January 6th and he incited it himself. Which
it's not that he incited it. It's not that he incited it. It's that he was pressuring the vice president to throw out election results.
Well, but nonetheless, he didn't conduct January 6th.
Yes, but he was pressuring the vice president to. He was pressuring the vice president to throw out election results, right?
Wait, now we're jumping around.
That's not jumping around. That's what happened on January 6th. Yep, that's what happened on January 6th.
Okay, but we're jumping around from what you were clearly trying to make a point.
No, I'm not. The clear point that I was making is that Donald Trump was trying to pressure the vice president to overturn the results of the election, and that's what January 6th was. I don't know if you've watched the speech or.
But you were clearly trying to allude by your question with Harris. You were clearly trying to allude with that question that he himself conducted the behavior of January 6th, because your question was formulated in such a manner that said, what has Harris done that was like January 6th?
But I mean, he was conducting on January 6th. He was trying to pressure the vice president to decertify electors on January 6th.
But
right?
he didn't conduct the behavior of January 6th and the people that even the right say were wrong.
And he did pardon them, though, right?
Yeah, what he did was he felt like slow down. He felt like the crimes didn't fit the behavior.
Like seditious conspiracy? That didn't fit?
No. The over harshly punishments. Nobody was killed. Nobody was violently harmed. He's not saying, oh, this person committed a violent act and they should be reduced in sentence.
No, he
brother.
like literally
Be
pardoned
real.
somebody who assaulted a police officer with a deadly weapon, right?
Be real. I don't know that to be the case, and I don't know that to be true. But like I said, most of the time you guys give scenarios and situations and stories.
I don't know why you keep poisoning the well. Like you're assuming that I'm lying when you haven't brought up anything contradictory to what I'm saying.
I'm not assuming you're lying. What I'm telling
you
you
literally just said that, you know, a lot of the times liberals like to lie. What else is that supposed to mean?
So who was it that he pardoned that violently harmed somebody? Who was that?
Give me one
Let's
second.
just talk about it. Well, you should know, right?
Not off the top of my head.
You need a second? I mean, how would you make a claim like that?
Because I know it was true. Josiah Kenyon. Convicted of assaulting a law enforcement officer with a dangerous weapon and assaulting a law enforcement officer with a dangerous weapon resulting in bodily injury, sentenced to 72 months in prison. Pardoned.
What was his name?
Josiah Kenyon. Or Robert Scott Palmer. That was another one. Or we can look at Stuart Rhodes, who is like conducting military training for the Oath Keepers. So you could try and separate Donald Trump from the riot all you want to. Yeah, let's look into it.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. And if it's true, I think most people in their right mind would say that's not right.
Well, I mean, you voted for it. He said that he was going to do this.
I didn't vote for that. It's not that black and white. So me supporting someone just to be president means I support everything they do. That's literally
it means
what
that
you're
you think that this was better than Kamala Harris doing nothing. That's what it means.
No, because nobody predicted that would happen.
He literally said he was going to pardon all of the J6 political prisoners.
I didn't hear him say that.
Well, that just means you weren't paying attention.
No, that just means.
But you did vote for it. That just means you voted and you were uninformed of who you were voting for.
You're being obnoxious. That's not what it means.
That is what it means. He did say it, and you just said you didn't hear it. So that means that you voted for the person that you knew nothing about. That's okay.
Just because you don't know some things that are going on doesn't mean you don't know anything.
Some things like pardoning insurrectionists. Like that, right?
Not everybody knows everything about everything.
Like pardoning insurrectionists. I'm not asking you to know what color his toenails are. I'm asking you to know that he was rallying on pardoning insurrectionists. And now he's talking about giving them restitutions, and your vote went to it. I'm sorry. As an American, you do have some sort of obligation to know who you just casted a ballot for.
So now I looked into it, because I don't look into anything, right? It says there has been individuals like Josiah, who were convicted of violent crimes involving law enforcement officers, right? However, there is no information indicating that this individual has been pardoned. You see what I mean by the context? It's so funny. And then here's the argument that you guys always make. This is the big problem, right, with the liberals, is that whenever you guys ask a question, like a pop quiz question, hey, like, how many amendments are there? Hey, when was this year? Hey, when was the first Civil War? Hey, this and this. And whenever someone doesn't know it, you guys attribute that to them just being stupid. And let me tell you something. Not everybody knows everything about everything. It's not practical.
I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you to have some level of knowledge about what's happening in your country.
Knowing random facts,
random facts like pardoning insurrectionists
is not synonymous with intelligence, and that's where
random facts like pardoning insurrectionists, right? Like those kind of random facts.
No, but here's the point I'm making. Long story short, the point I'm making is now that I'm looking into it, because I didn't know about it, I'm not afraid to admit there's things I don't know about. You know why? Because I'm preoccupied with my immediate life, so I'm not going to know everything that's going on.
But you went to vote for it.
But now that I did look, you don't know why I voted though. So you're just making an assumption.
Well, your vote means the same thing as the person who voted for this, just to be clear.
Hold on. Do you want to have a conversation? Hold on.
I just want you to stop like hedging. Like if it's fine if you support this, but I mean, you voted for it.
Now that I looked into it, it's clearly saying here he hasn't been pardoned.
No, it doesn't say he hasn't been pardoned.
It clearly says here, however, there is no information indicating that the individual has been pardoned.
Where are you reading that?
Don't worry about it.
Okay, don't worry about it. Okay.
Well, I mean, you're just going to criticize the source.
Here's a website I have right now. Full list of January 6 prisoners released by Trump. His name's right there. So, I mean...
Well, I don't see it. I see other sources of information.
Okay, and I see other sources too. So, I mean... We can go down the other, like, 70 people that he pardoned. We can go down Stuart Rhodes, who was training people for January 6th. We could go down Dominic Pizzola, the first person who entered the Capitol. Like, The idea that the January 6th rioters were pardoned isn't something that's contested by almost anybody.
No, but you said a specific name was pardoned, so.
Okay, and I have a list that says that he was pardoned, right?
I'm not talking about the list. I'm talking about the individual.
Yeah, I have a list of the January 6th prisoners released by Donald Trump, and his name is in it.
Was he pardoned or not?
It seems so.
There is no public record indicating that Josiah has been pardoned.
Where are you reading that?
So
where are you reading that?
So where I'm pulling this up is I'm using ChatGPT as a tool to pull multiple sources instantaneously. Why do you guys always laugh when people say they use ChatGPT?
Because there's no credibility to it. It lies.
Why is there not? It can instantly pull information from multiple sources.
This makes sense as to why you voted for Trump. That's okay.
Hold on. It's not that it lies. You know what it does? Is sometimes it's inaccurate information because of conflicting things on the internet.
Okay. So if I have a list of the... So if I have a list of the January 6th prisoners released by Trump and his name is in it, does that mean that ChatGPT knows better than the list that I'm citing, or?
That's not the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that no, it's not. If you'd shut up, you'd hear the point I'm making. The point I'm making is that for you to laugh at me using a tool to look up information instantaneously on the World Wide Web, I mean, it's just ridiculous that you even find that funny.
I mean, by the way, it's
a tool.
This is why you didn't want to source where you were getting it from. This is why you didn't want to source.
Where do you want me to look up this information? What would make you happy since ChatGPT is not credible to you? What would be a good way to look at this counter argument?
Google full list of January 6th prisoners released by Trump.
So I'm at the first thing that pulled up here, granting pardons, and so this is from the whitehouse.gov.
And it says, grant a full, complete, and unconditional pardon to all other individuals convicted of offenses related to the events that occurred at or near the Capitol on January 6th. It says that, right?
I don't see this guy's name, though.
All other individuals. Do you know what that means?
I wasn't paying attention to what you're saying. I was paying attention to his list, and I don't see his name.
Go down to B. It says, grant a full, complete, and unconditional pardon to all other individuals convicted of offenses related to the events that occurred at or near the United States Capitol on January 6th. So what do you think that means? Does that mean everybody except for that one guy, or?
Well, if you allow me, I mean, there's a lot to read here, but you're talking while I'm trying to read it.
My apologies.
Yeah, you come off obnoxious. Like, just relax.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of the people who support the dude who tried to overthrow our democracy. I'm not a huge fan of that.
Have some emotional constraint. Jesus.
Well, I mean, you cast your ballot and you didn't know anything about this, so I don't think I deserve to be like I don't think you deserve my emotional.
The point you're missing here is you can vote for someone and not be in line with everything they do.
Okay.
Again, that's the point that you've already agreed to. So just because he may do some things that I don't agree with,
you don't even know anything about it. That's the problem.
It doesn't matter. It's not
it does
the
matter.
There's a lot of things people don't know about a lot of politicians. There's a lot of things I didn't know about Obama.
You are condoning.
But you're not making the argument why you vote for Obama.
You voted into office the person who tried to rob millions of people of their votes on January 6th. And he pardoned the people who was using violence to do it. And it's talking about giving them restitutions. And you're throwing your hands up because you didn't know anything about it. You voted for that. Whether or not you particularly agree with it doesn't matter. Whether or not you particularly agree with it doesn't matter. You voted into the person that did that.
Where was that on the ballot? That circumstance. Where was that on the ballot?
Right where you circled Donald Trump. Right there. Right where you did that.
But you're talking about an event, not a person. So let's
The
make
the person who did the event, right? The person who did pressure.
That goes back to my argument.
Did pressure? Who did pressure?
The people who are being pardoned
did pressure.
Event.
I know you're conveniently walking off of the point that I'm making. He pressured the vice president to throw out millions of votes.
Brother. The people who did the act on January 6th.
Okay, why do you keep walking off to the people? Why do you keep walking off to the rioters? I'm talking about Donald Trump's particular actions surrounding January 6th.
Because he wasn't a rioter. That's the point I'm making.
I'm not talking about the rioters. I'm talking about
what happened January 6th.
Yes, I'm talking about how he was pressuring the vice president to throw out votes.
I don't care about that. I was talking.
I know you don't care about that because you don't care about democracy because you voted to get rid of your right to vote.
I don't care about that because that's not what I'm arguing.
Are you arguing that was okay?
No, you idiot. I'm arguing that Trump wasn't at the event, the riot.
Okay, why are you arguing something that I never claimed?
What?
Do you want to argue about if like a ham sandwich is a diamond next, or like do you want to actually engage with what I'm talking about?
Do you want to know why I'm arguing that? Because that's what you alluded to.
That's not what I alluded to. I literally immediately after clarified that I'm talking about Donald Trump pressuring the vice president to throw out votes, and you still have yet to address that.
Well, I don't know much about that.
I know you don't, but you voted for it. So I think that's despicable. You did. You voted for the person that did it.
Well, I wasn't aware that he did it, and if I look into it,
okay. Well, I think you as an American have a civic responsibility to not vote for dictators. I think that it's probably not too much for to ask of you to not vote for somebody who led an insurrection that was like the most fucking publicly televised piece of news for like 2 years. You absolutely knew about it. You just didn't know how bad it was because you listened to the conservatives frame it and you asked ChatGPT to summarize it instead of actually looking into anything like it's your civic duty to do.
Well, I can't look into everything and know everything about everything.
No, but you can look into one of the first times that a sitting president has been criminally indicted. You can probably look into that, right? You could probably look into the first criminal indictment of a president, right? Like maybe.
I'm actually looking something up about what you were saying.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So look, there's some context here that seems to be missing with this clemency. Have you heard of that word?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what's the difference between clemency and a pardon?
Is it going to change the language in the pardon?
Well,
because he literally says a full, complete, and unconditional pardon to all other individuals, right?
Well, he was granted a clemency, not an actual pardon.
I thought you said he wasn't granted anything.
Well, I didn't say he wasn't granted anything. I was just questioning whether he was granted a pardon. And the guy that you said who did the officer, I entertained it. I said he was because I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't say he wasn't. But clemency reduces an end or ends a sentence, but doesn't erase the conviction. A pardon, on the other hand, forgives the crime completely.
Okay,
and
so
he clears the person's record.
Did attack a police officer with intent to cause bodily harm, and now he's out of prison. So, okay, good job.
If he did do that, so let's slow down. If he did do that, we can agree that deserves a punishment.
Yeah, so, Donald Trump made it so we will not punish that person. He is absolved of punishment.
Does that mean I have to? Does that mean I have to, because I voted for him, I have to agree with him pardoning or giving clemency to the action?
It means that you have to think that.
It doesn't mean that.
It means that you have to think that Kamala Harris did something comparably bad. Now I'm waiting for what Kamala Harris did that was comparably bad.
That's what you want to make it.
Can you tell me? Can you tell me what Kamala Harris did that was comparably bad?
I don't know much about Harris.
Okay, why did you vote? If you don't know anything about politics, why did you vote?
Oh, yeah, that's a better question, right? So I don't know much about Harris besides the fact that she just often gets on TV and has a word salad and seems like an idiot. That's what I do know. I'd say here's the reason I voted. It had a lot less to do with policy and how much I know about Trump, because I'm not obsessed with the guy, and more to do with the intolerance of the left and this I'm going to explain to it. Just because you don't like it and you want to make fun, it doesn't take any.
No, it's
doesn't
like
take away
it's
from what I'm telling you.
absurd. It's
So you
absurd.
don't want to hear it. That's the problem.
No,
See,
it's absurd. The fact that you're
this is-
saying that the
you know what's
intolerance of
absurd?
the left was why
You know
you
what-
voted for an
you know what-
insurrectionist. Like,
you know
come
what's-
on, dude. It's just because
know
you
what's
didn't know
absurd?
anything and you're not bold enough to
This
say
is
that
the-
you made a mistake.
This is the exact behavior why so many people from the center ran to the right. Is because you guys don't want to lean in with an ear and have a conversation. You much rather just make a mockery, try
It's
to
because
laugh at
you
people,
literally
demonize
don't
them.
know anything,
And the
and you came up to
conversation for
defend
the last
him.
8 years, no, I'm going to tell you why so many people voted the other way. Because for the last 8 years, instead of having productive conversations around our differences in values and the priorities around those values, you guys take the conversation from that to morals and saying, oh, you guys are just morally bankrupt. You guys are homophobes. You guys are racist. You guys are
I
this
didn't
and
call
that.
you a homophobe
Instead of-
once. I didn't call you a racist
I'm
once.
not
I'm
saying you did. I'm talking about the liberals and they're out of their mind antics.
So you
behaviors
literally
and
voted.
intolerance to
You
these
voted
conversations.
for an insurrectionist because you think the
No,
left is
I'm gonna
intolerant.
tell you-
I
no,
don't.
how
I
about you
like
listen?
that.
How about you calm down?
You
How about
have a
stop getting your panties in
responsibility.
bunch?
You
How
have a
about you stop getting
responsibility
your
to
panties
know
in a
fucking
bunch?
anything about the person you voted
Stop
for.
getting your panties in a bunch. And
Just
I'll tell
because you talk
guys
calm
still
doesn't
haven't
mean
told
that it's
you.
going to absolve you of
because
of voting for the person who tried to rob
because
me of
I'm a
my
man.
vote in 2020, who
I
tried to
talk calm
rob
because I'm a
me
man.
of my vote, and you're trying to
talk calm
walk
because I'm a
away.
man.
You're trying to walk away from any responsibility for it.
So is this platform to lecture people or have a conversation?
Well, it's for Republicans to give any sort of like semblance of justification, and so far your justification has been that you didn't know anything about the person that you voted for, and you just don't
Is
like
this
how liberals
platform-
talk to you.
Is this platform to have a conversation or lecture? Because you have yet to lean in with an open ear and
Because
understand why I voted
you
for him.
literally said that you didn't know anything about him. You said that
didn't
you didn't
say I
even
didn't know
vote
anything
for
about him.
Trump. You said you voted
I
against the liberal, like the
I didn't-
liberals.
I didn't say I don't know anything. I said I don't know everything about everything. And it's unreasonable to assume somebody's going to know everything about everything in every situation.
Did I
everything
ask
about
you
the
to know
person.
everything about everything and every situation, or did I ask you
No,
to
but
know about the
because-
first criminal
because-
indictment of a sitting president in the
Because I
United
don't
States
know-
history?
Because I don't know of a specific situation, you use that as ammunition to say, hey, you don't know about the guy.
No,
That's
I'm
what you're
asking
doing
you
here.
to just
You're
know the bare
blatantly doing
minimum
that.
of the first
No,
criminal
it's not the
indictment
bare
of a
minimum.
former
That's your bare
president. That's
minimum.
all.
That's your bare minimum.
Okay, well then
And here's
next
the thing.
election I'm going to vote for whoever the Democrats put up because I think that the Republicans are icky, and whenever you
And
say
guess
that
what?
that's
When
clearly
you do that-
illogical, you're going
And
it's
when you do
absurd.
that, and when you go and do that,
hmm
guess what? The people in the center and the right, they're not going to demonize you for it. They're gonna
Yes,
say,
they
hey,
are. You
voted your
kidding
way,
me?
You did it. You're a real emotional man. You know that.
Donald Trump
Are you
literally
mad?
wait real quick. You realize that
you
Donald
mad?
Trump literally described the left as a swarm of locusts.
profile picture.
You understand that, right? You understand that Donald Trump literally called the left a swarm of locusts, right?
Maybe he did. You guys
Okay,
act like
so
that sometimes.
let's walk
That
off
hurt
of
your
the fact.
feelings?
Let's walk off of the fact that the right
Did that
doesn't
hurt your
demonize
feelings?
any else. Like
Did that hurt your feelings? But you're asking me here. You're not asking. You're
No,
asking me why I voted for him, and then you're and
Yeah,
then your
and
thing
I know
is
the
to start
answer
taking
now.
the accountability and say, oh, okay, maybe that's why you voted for him. You're deflecting it and saying, but what do you got? What about you guys? What about you guys? What about you? Well, we can get to us, and we can hold ourselves accountable and say January
clearly
6th was
can't.
wrong. Anybody with a reasonable mind can do that. But whenever
But
it
you
comes to
voted for
taking
him.
accountability on your side,
No,
you guys don't do it. That's the
accountability
problem. You
isn't
guys don't take any
saying.
accountability
I'm
for
sorry.
you guys.
Accountability isn't saying, "Oh, well, maybe that was bad," and then not changing your behavior and then voting for him anyway. That's not what accountability looks like. Please spare me with the fact that Republicans have taken any accountability for
Listen,
January 6th
I don't
when
know-
they
I don't know
reelected
any
the person who
doesn't
led
have
it.
faults.
That's
don't
that's
know anybody who doesn't
absolutely
have faults.
absurd.
I don't know any president who's never had faults, who's never lied. Do you know a
I
president
know a
who's
lot
never
of
lied?
presidents that have never led an insurrection.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Do you know any other presidents who've never lied or done anything wrong?
Why are we shifting the framing
Yeah,
to
because I'm
lying?
doing what you're doing.
Did I say that
I'm
I
doing
didn't
what
vote
you're
for
doing.
Donald Trump because he lied,
I'm
or did
doing
I
what
say
you're
that
doing.
I didn't vote for Donald Trump because he led an
The
insurrection and
Dems
tried to
took
rob me of
over
my
the
votes?
entire city. The Dems took over an entire city and called it Chaz. That is true.
Yeah, did Kamala
Yeah,
Harris
you guys
do that?
Did do that.
Did Kamala Harris
You
do
guys
that?
did do that. See, here's
Did Kamala Harris do
Let's pump the
that?
brakes there. I love that. Let's pump the brakes now,
Yeah,
host, because I got you. No,
You didn't.
but guess what? We can say Harris didn't do that, right? Take over Chaz.
Yeah.
But you guys are incapable of saying that Trump didn't do January 6th.
But Trump did do January 6th. He was pressuring the vice president. He was pressuring the vice president to throw out electors.
Oh, bro, come on.
He was pressuring the vice president. Wait, stop, real quick. Can we?
Be real, bro. You're acting
what
like
do you mean?
clown.
Be real. He was Do you know what? Okay. Simple question.
You're just too emotional.
Why were the riot? Can you answer me? Can you answer me why the rioters were there on January 6th?
I will, but you got to slow down.
Okay, can you answer me why the rioters were there on January 6th?
They were there because there were a bunch of idiots doing what they thought was the right thing to do.
Okay, what did they think was the right thing? What did they think was the right thing?
Hear me out, guy. Because you're not going to make it seem like I'm married to this ideology of the right and that we're incapable of identifying things that are wrong and taking accountability. You're speaking to
you don't even know what happened. That's
it was wrong. It was wrong. You know, here's what I do know that happened.
Stop. No, don't shift off to a different thing. Don't shift off to a different thing.
These idiots went somewhere they were not supposed to do, and they acted a fucking clown. They acted a bunch of clowns, and they were behaving in ways they shouldn't have.
Okay, why were they there?
Because they were upset. They're emotional men.
What were they trying to do?
They were trying to cause chaos.
What was happening at the Capitol?
Chaos.
No, like what proceeding was happening at the Capitol?
Bro, why don't you just tell me, what are the trick questions? What is the point? What is the change?
I'll just tell you, the election certification was happening on January 6th at the Capitol, and the reason that the rioters were there was to pressure the vice president to go through with what Donald Trump had been asking him for the past 3 months. So to absolve Donald Trump of all responsibilities surrounding January 6th, as if he wasn't pressuring the vice president directly to throw out votes, is fucking ridiculous.
Does any of that change how I feel about the situation?
Well, it should absolutely point to Donald Trump being involved.
Thank you for all the context. Guess what, buddy? Guess what?
You just don't care. Yeah, because you have no empathy.
You could have saved yourself the breath. No. You could have saved yourself the breath because guess what? I still think that those guys that went into the Capitol, they were all wrong.
Yeah, and then you're going to absolve Donald Trump of all responsibility, right?
No. Here's what I'm going to do. Just like I'm not going to hold Harris accountable for Chaz and all the things the Democrats do, I'm not going to hold him accountable for everything Republicans do. Here's the super key difference is that Kamala Harris never had any communications with the people in Chaz, and Donald Trump was literally pressuring the vice president to decertify the election, and then told the rioters, who ended up violating the Capitol, that we were going to walk down to the Capitol to protest the certification of the election. It's 1000% different, and to act like this is the same thing is actually dishonest. Like, I don't think you're being honest when you're engaging with this. That's there's such a clear separation between Donald Trump egging on the rioters to go there for a specific purpose that Donald Trump was asking vice president to do, and the left doing a thing and Harris also being a Democrat. Like, it's ridiculous. Yeah, no, I'm still not going to say he's responsible for another man's actions.
Okay, so
or a group of men's actions.
Was he responsible for trying to pressure the vice president to throw out votes? Was he responsible for that?
I don't know much of the situation to speak on. What I do know
so you're just going to be able to walk off of everything. Whatever Donald Trump does have actual culpability, you say, oh, well, I just don't know much about it. Like, listen, just go read, buddy.
Yeah.
How's it going, big dog?
Hey, what's up, man? Look, here's the reality, buddy. No one cares about 2020 anymore. The Democrat Party has a 26% favorability rating right now. That was 4 years ago. Trump just won not only the Electoral College, the popular vote. So you could still live in 2020. That's fine. But the Democrats are hemorrhaging. Donald Trump's more popular than he's ever been. He won the popular vote. And so you could focus on the future now, or you could be a little crybaby and focus on 2020. Which one is it going to be?
So why is Donald Trump talking about giving restitutions to the people that invaded the Capitol for him? If he's like moved on. No
one cares about 2020.
No, stop.
He
cares. He cares. He's talking about.
Nobody gives a shit.
He cares. He pardoned them all, and he's talking about giving them restitutions.
Of the country, nobody cares.
Stop.
You have a 26%
Donald Trump cares.
Donald Trump cares. No one cares.
Donald Trump cares. He's talking about paying them money. I know the voters don't care because they're insane because you're just a bunch of bootlickers.
Then why are we talking about 20? It's not just Republicans though. You have a 26% favorability rating.
Okay, keep licking the boot, buddy. I'm sure it tastes super good.
No.
Can you tell me if nobody cares, why is Donald Trump talking about paying the rioters money? Okay? Why is Donald Trump talking about that?
Voters don't care.
Okay,
Did
you just come up to bootlick or did you actually come up to engage?
You can keep being a crybaby and focus on 2020 because you realize not only did Trump win, he won the popular vote and Kamala got smoked.
Okay.
Got smoked.
So Donald Trump did pardon the rioters.
Because nobody gives a shit about what happened in 2020.
Donald Trump did pardon the rioters.
Republicans don't give a crap.
Donald Trump did pardon the rioters, and now he's talking about giving them money, and you're just saying, oh, who cares? Can you at least condemn violence? Can you at least condemn violence? Can you condemn violence?
Both sides do violence.
I'm not asking if both sides do violence. Can you condemn violence?
I do condemn violence, unlike Kamala Harris, who wanted to bail out rioters.
Okay, she wanted to bail out rioters. She wanted to bail out rioters. Did she want to give them pardons and pay them? Did she want to give them pardons and pay them? Did she want to give them pardons and pay them? Did she want to give them pardons and pay them? Did she want to give them pardons and pay them? Like, this is.
It doesn't matter. You're still condoning.
This is the smartest MAGA has to offer.